Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. I got another, I don't want to technically call it a gameplay review. This is a part one of two, maybe part one of many series that I'm going to quickly put together for you here over the next week or so. This is Zombie Outbreak Survival. I did a white paper review on this. Oh, at the beginning of the year. It's been a while. It's been their era one. It was actually, I think, right before they launched. If you remember from that, if you have been following me since then, I love zombie survival games. Absolutely love them. So I was super excited to see this one coming out. I didn't actually start jumping in and playing the game because it was a little more click to earn style with the first phase, but I'm a big fan of the project team, and I also know that they have been planning to really grow from that initial phase, so I've been wanting to keep an eye on it, and it's time to come back to it. I do have to give credit to Devil from Discord, not the actual Devil. His name in Discord is Devil, who brought it to my attention again that Era 3 is coming out for Zombie Outbreak Survival, which is going to make it more of a strategic, more of a fun to play, crafting, battle, survival style game. So I wanted to go ahead and highlight it. They do have the Era 3 that is era, however you want to say it, which is dropping here on Saturday, December 11th. There's going to be some cool new features to it. There's going to be a new battle option to it where you can fight a number of different bosses. There's some strategy involved with the fighting. There's crafting and the very unique crafting style for a wax game. So I wanted to cover both of these in a video. And then once it drops, I'm hoping next week I can actually grab some, have a pack and then jump in there and actually show you the gameplay of the new phase that they have for the game itself. So I'm excited to see that they're going past the click to earn. Like they said they were going to, and they're actually doing the development for strategic style games, survival, crafting, basically finding material, and then doing a whole bunch of different recipes where you can invent things and get rewarded for inventing different things. So it's a neat process. Let's start talking about the Era 3 Evolve and what it all includes. As I mentioned, they're going to have a new battle style. It's a new strategic battle style where you're going to fight 3 different types of bosses in 3 different types of areas that all have pros and cons depending on what survivalists you have. In addition to that, they're also adding scrapping. So if you've been playing the game and you've been going out and getting a whole bunch of equipment, lower tier stuff that you've been just holding on to, you can now scrap it with this new phase of the game and get building material that you can then go in and start crafting. And again, I will talk about the crafting here because I think it's, in my personal opinion, it's the most unique part and the most fun part of this phase because it's so unique. I haven't really seen this style in a wax game. I've seen it in other things, which I'll refer to when we talk about it a little bit more, but it's probably my favorite part of what's coming out here and why I want to go ahead and jump in and try and give it a try. They're also getting new partnerships. They're trying to get more engaged with top projects on wax. Tacos, the simple example, they now have a swap on Taco Swap, which shows that you are doing well, that you are committed to continuing to grow your project. So it's nice to see that's in there. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the battle aspect of it first. If you're in the game right now, you really know that the phase 1 and 2 is really been about the supply runs, about going out there, running a mission for a certain amount of period of time, depending on your equipment, the difficulty, and the rewards that you would get from it. So it's basically a click, wait a few hours, get your results. They're now adding this battle aspect where you need at least one survivor, one weapon, and one shield in order to engage in the boss. You can actually continue to go up to as many as you want. There's 3 slots that are available for basically three survivors. And then you can add additional survivors depending on whether you have enough of the Zilver. They call it Zilver is the in-game token that allows you to expand. And you can see right here an example of it. They have 2 in there, and then you can go ahead and increase it. They're also adding the element of stamina to the game. They've already had health in there for the supply runs. Stamina allows you to continue to fight different bosses. You have a base stamina of 250. Each boss run or each fight costs you 25. The only way you can increase your stamina or refill your stamina is using the silver to refill. It's basically 1 silver equals 1 stamina. And then from a health perspective, it's going to be the same as the supply run, so I won't dive into that one. There's going to be 3 different types of bosses, and I like the creativity that they put into this because each boss is a little bit different. Each boss has its advantages and disadvantages, and depending on what survivors you have, you need to match it up. You need to actually think before you just send a whole bunch of survivors into attack. The first fighter is Smasher. Basically, he's like Hulk from Marvel, just likes to smash things. Then you also have basically the assassin here, and then last but not least is Big Sister. I love this statement in here. Remember, if you hear a shot, it wasn't meant for you. So basically, had the sniper aspect there. And then you have different environments that you're going to be going into. You have the hospital, which is enclosed space that might be a little bit tougher, but it's great for people that hand-to-hand combat style. And then you have the woods. And then the last but not least, you have the airport, which might be better for assassins or long-range folks. So the different environments, different bosses, and they all mix and match. And then you have like I said, you have your different survivors. You have the assault survivor, which is great for close hand-to-hand combat. You have the assassin who can sneak up really well. And then you have the Overwatch, which is for long distances, basically a sniper that you have. And it's interesting because these 3 types of survivors correlate very closely with the different style of bosses. So I like what they did with it. I like the art style. Again, I like the zombie survival, that they don't just have mindless zombies walking around. They have zombies that have skills, that have stories behind them, which is neat. And then you have the strategy that's going to go along with it. Basically, the assault attack style weapons works really well in the woods. I should say really well in the hospital, works well in the woods, but it doesn't work well in the airport. Just because of the way the environment is. But the assassin does great in the woods, does well in the airport, and so on and so on. I'm not going to go through each of these, but it basically lets you know what type of attack weapon works well in what type of environment, and you need to match it up depending on what boss you're going against. So there's definitely some strategy here that goes along with it. As far as the attacks and the battle goes, I'm going to dive into that a whole lot more when we actually get to see the gameplay. But there are different styles of battle that can be dealt, or different damage that can be dealt depending on the weapons and so forth, the rarities, I should say. The one thing I did want to note, because this leads into the next part, is the loot. When you're fighting, each boss gives you a specific style of in-game token. For example, Smasher will give you wood, Hush, which is the assassin zombie, will give you stone, and Big Sister will give you metal, which can be converted into resources for crafting. Combine that with your scrapping from your supply runs, and you can go ahead and really dive into the crafting. In addition to the resources are guaranteed when you win a fight against the boss. But you also have a chance of getting different loot, different items, different blueprints, different things from the bosses. That's a smaller chance. It's obviously not guaranteed, but you can go ahead and you can get items too, which I love loot. I love that games are now implementing drops, and you can get loot from doing different activities or different battles. So I like the fact that they added that in there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump over to the crafting Medium article. They have all these out there on their Discord. I'll have a link to their Discord in the description down below. You can jump there, go to the announcements, find these Medium articles. If you want to dive them into a little more detail, like I said, I'm going to try and do a gameplay review so I can actually walk you through the different items. But the crafting is interesting. This is what I'm most excited about this whole expansion. The crafting, the way you get the resources is, like I mentioned before, you get from scrapping gear that you find on supply runs, or you find during the loot for battles. And then you can also get the tokens that, as I mentioned, that are guaranteed drops with the bosses. The Smasher drops the wood and so forth. You basically turn those items that you get into what they call basic elements, basic building materials. 100 of the wood turns into logs. And here's kind of gives you a breakdown. You get the wood, stone, and metal from boss battles or the battling, and you get the electricity and explosives from scrapping different materials. Those all basically 100 of those materials turns into the basic crafting materials. Like I said, 100 wood, or Z wood is the in-game token. Z wood turns into a log, and so forth down. And you need these basic materials to go ahead and quote unquote invent things. If you look down here, there's different crafting grids. It reminds me a lot of Minecraft. You put different items in different spots depending on their order, depending on their recipe, and they produce something. So there's a whole list. There's going to be a whole recipe book in there that shows you all the different possibilities. But until it's learned, you don't know how to do it. And the way you can go ahead and learn how to do it is by placing the materials in here until you actually craft something. And for those that basically invent it, are the first ones to craft it, get a reward. You can see down here that it was discovered by certain people in game. So if you're one that gets it first, you figure it out first, it gets named after you. You get the credit for doing it, plus you get rewards for doing it. And I'll come back to this in a second. But basically they're saying the inventor rewards, you'll get different items based on the tier and the level. And you can go through the details of this, but you actually get rewards for being the first person to craft a recipe. So it means it's critical for you to go ahead in there and really start doing these runs when this era drops on December 11th, this Saturday. So it's a neat aspect that they have in there. You're also going to need crafting tools, which you can go ahead and craft, and they're going to need one for each tier. For example, you have a tier 5 right here in order to be able to craft tier 5 items. In addition, blueprints are also going to be available. I believe you can find these from looting things, which will give you the recipe itself, so you don't have to go through the process of learning it. Just a neat addition to it. It's a big jump, and there's not a lot of wax games that have this level of crafting, this level of crafting tree and details and recipes like they do here. Usually it's this many tokens and this many tokens, you can craft this one item. There's a whole selection of them. You got to learn it. It's like a survival game. Love the aspect of it. That's what's coming here on December 11th. I hope you're excited. If you like zombie survival games, keep an eye on ZOS, Zombie Outbreak Survival. I love the fact that they're following up on their word and making a more interactive game, and they're going to continue to do that based on what I've heard from the project team. It's a solid project team. The project team is very involved not only in the game and in their Discord, but also in the community. The leader of the project team is always on Twitter. He's always involved in events. So they're going to be here for the long run, at least from what I can see from the project team. And please understand that this is not it's not financial advice. This is not telling you that you must jump into this if you like this style game. It's just a suggestion. Make sure it's right for you. So before you jump into anything, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and do a follow-up video with this after it actually drops. I may play for a few days just to make sure I understand everything correctly and can give you some good examples. But I'll go ahead and try and do a follow-up gameplay review of this. So for those of you that are not in the game yet, it can be something that you can see if it's something that you want to jump into. Go ahead and in the comments down below, let me know, are you already playing ZOS? What are your thoughts of the first two eras? I know there's some people out there that love it, so it's definitely something that I think is worth checking out. Also, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.